What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for another VOD review, and as you guys can tell by the lack of a face but a few tufts of hair in the bottom right corner, we are doing a K3 Soju VOD review here. Soju having a pretty good run of it on ladder, climbing a lot, but we're not necessarily VOD reviewing him because he has some kind of like secret edge this set. We're VOD reviewing him because he played a line that we must talk about. This is a very, very strong augment, one that you should basically always be taking when you get the opportunity, as long as you aren't contested, like I talked about in my last VOD, which was a crazy game, which will also be uploaded to my VOD channel, which if you guys aren't subscribed to, check in the link down below if you guys want to see my highlight games from stream, the tubers, as they were. But this game was definitely a tuber from Soju because of this augment that you are about to see that we get offered here. Start off with a bit of a Bastion opener here. A few good units, but nothing, really crazy to write home about. But we open up our augments, and we see Two Tanky here, and Soju shuffles his units around a bunch. He says, my other options aren't that great, so I'm going to do a quick scout of the lobby, make sure nobody else picked this up, and I'm going to grab it myself, and it is going to be a Two Tanky game. So, if you guys haven't played Two Tanky yet this set, you might be asking, okay, so what do we do with Two Tanky? Usually there is some kind of a synergy with a couple of units. Usually it's actually funny. The ones that proc off of certain effects, ones that have abilities that kind of get like triggered by certain effects, those are usually the best ones with Two Tanky. If you guys remember this like Talia comp back in the day, that was like Two Tanky Talias, or that was actually Double Trouble back in the day, right? Double Trouble Talia back in the day was a very strong one, and this comp certainly has echoes of that idea, because this is going to be a Two Tanky Samira game, and the idea is you can play multiple Samiras, you can play multiple frontliners, and Samira actually likes playing multiple frontliners that synergize with her, as we'll talk about later. And the other thing that you can play is just a ton of units that knock up. You can play, multiple Nunus that roll snowball across the entire board. You can, if you get there, play multiple Blitzcranks that punch multiple units into the air, which just goes absolutely crazy. And the board is a pretty tight trait web here, so you can see Soju very slowly planning it out here, but this is the idea, is that you play these guys on your board, and then you play Nasus, and then Nasus ends up becoming eventually Blitzcrank. Very easy to play, very straightforward. You're basically always rolling for these exact units, and there's not much more to it, honestly, as far as the comp goes, than that. As far as itemization goes, we actually have a pretty rough spot of items for this line. You really want stuff like IE. Now, the tier can become Shojin, which is nice, or even blue buff if you can get enough tiers to make it for the Samira, just to get her casting. But we'll have to kind of get bailed out a little bit on the items we'll see here. I don't think it is Cosmic Hex. I would just take the XP here. Yep, feel pretty good about that. Hoping to high roll the Gwen off of our 3-cost here, or the Samira off of our 3-cost here, but we do just end up getting Gwen, the Victor, and the Briar there, so it's like, these guys aren't going to do too much for us, but hey, they'll at least allow us to play a little bit of a board and play this Jax pair here. This is one of the first things that you can do to kind of get a little bit of an edge in this line as Soju goes back underground, much like a Diglett of some sort, is that you can play multiple copies of things like this Jax, any other Bastion you can play. I mean, really any unit you can double trouble. If you need to, if you have a start with it. I saw a guy who took this augment in one of my games, and their opener was Pike, Meepsy, and that was their board. And I mean, it fits, right? It gets Voyager in. Both of them are, decent enough units, and you don't necessarily have to play, Jaxes and these type of units that are going to go onto your final board. You can just play whatever that saves you some HP and gets you to the late game board that you want to play around, because this is a comp that spikes really hard on level 7, and then we're going to sit level 7 for almost the rest of the game. Eventually pushing stuff like 8 and 9 is great to get more copies of extra units on your board, but you are going to be 7 for a very long time, and so saving HP up until that level 7 will give you time to hit your board. The other big concern when you are playing a line like this is Two Tanky forces you to play 3-cost reroll, but it does not really give you the econ to play 3-cost reroll. Now, one of the upsides is that you don't have to play that many units, right? If you find an Ornn 3 and it prints you another Ornn, all of a sudden, boom, you don't have to worry that much about, you know, having to find an extra unit to play. But you do still need to reach stuff like Ornn 3 and Samira 3. So you do need the requisite gold to get there. That's why Econ Augment 3-2 or something like this Ahri portal is really, really nice for us. Ahri portal, Varus portal, anything that's going to give us enough resources to reach our board is what we are really looking forward to when we were playing this line. Do find a Riven, which is kind of interesting here. We could play the Riven Pantheon and get a ton of extra. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a very nice little combo that we can play on this board here. This is going to give us extra resources and, I mean, just a nice unit to probably not really item hold for the Samira, but, you know, just to do some extra damage, get unit kills that otherwise we wouldn't have here. So actually, great pickup from Mr. Soju here, and we're feeling pretty nice about the spot, getting our free rerolls off a timebreaker here. Second augment here, care package. Wow, I mean, we're going a middle-only augment selection this game, but I mean, I think care package makes perfect sense. And oh, we haven't even talked about the Stargazer yet this game, because we have spawned in an extra Stargazer emblem. This is the Mountain here. The Mountain is actually the best Stargazer in this comp, but there are a lot of other good ones as well. So if you can get to the highest level as a Mountain, that's amazing. Aside from that, the Altar, really, really nice extra stats for your board. The Boar, really, really, really good to generate this gold that is going to allow you to get to your 3-star board. The Medallion, actually fantastic because it doesn't care if you're a Stargazer or not. When you 3-star units, it just buffs them up, so you're going to get that full extra % damage increase onto the Samiras. You're not going to 3-star a million units, but it's still very, very good. Even the Huntress is fine, and then once you get down to the Serpent, the Fountain, those are really not great. The other thing to talk about traits-wise with this comp is that Space Groove really likes Double Trouble because you're playing multiple copies of units which all buff up Space Groove. It does not care about unique units, so multiple Samiras, multiple Ornns on this board, they are still contributing fully to that Space Groove bonus. So this comp, it just, the traits are perfect in this setup with everything that you got going on here when you play this line. But I mean, Soju very happy about this opener that he is playing. He is stacking up the Mountain, getting those spats already, which is really, really nice. All right, another, ooh, I mean, I don't think you care for Storm Hex here. The stun is not a knock-up, sadly. If it said it knocked up the unit, then you'd be really, really excited, but the stun is not a knock-up. So we are just going to go full down this Ahri path, which, like I said, it makes a lot of sense when you are playing a line like this that requires a lot of resources. And I'm curious even, Soju is a pretty greedy player. I would not be surprised at all. Like, you could, sure, level and roll and try to stabilize a bit here. We have enough gold to somewhat stabilize here, but all of this talk about how this is a very, very expensive board, we might as well sack a couple of rounds here and then get to our board, you know, later into the stage here. We also do end up making Morellos here. We kind of quickly made the Shojin, which, like we talked about, is a great item onto Samira, and then we left the glove open for stuff like IE. Her last item can be Guardbreaker, can be Deathblade. Really just want damage on this this girl, so that when she shoots you, she does a lot of damage, is the simple long and short of it. Yeah, long and short of it, I think, is a phrase that people say. We do see a Nunu out here, which is a little bit annoying. This is a line that loves Nunu, as it seems like every line does these days. So you want to find, you know, at least one Nunu so that you can, if you're not playing the Mountain, fit that 3 Stargazer with the Zaya, the Nunu, and the Jax. Usually what you end up cutting on level 7 so that you can double trouble a lot of units is just the Nasus. So we'll see if Soju does do that this game, but Nasus, pretty easy to cut on this board. You lose out on 3 Space Crew, but not the end of the world, and we are just going to roll down here on 4-1, or on 3-7 really, 4-1, no diff, honestly, and start pivoting our board into everything we got here. Get the Samira in here, move the items over to the Ornn here. One of the other cool things about this board is that both Ornns print an item, so you do get, you know, kind of multiple items on your front line here via the Ornn. Not, you know, some kind of like crazy broken tech, but I mean, it's nice. We do actually opt to make LW here because we have the other glove open, so we can still make IE, but it gives us a nice slam here. We're going to roll down, pick up the Samira too. Still waiting on some of the other stuff here. But, I mean, we are just able to fit this board for now, get the Stargazer in, throw the... Oh, and he's going to crack this. Really wanted to find IE here, but missed it. So now he's going to have to maybe build some tank items. Does take bow here, actually, interestingly enough. LW is pretty crummy on your primary Samira, but it is pretty good on your secondary Samira. That's the funny thing, is you can make this, put it onto primary Samira for now, and then move it later to secondary Samira. All right, last augment here, and we do get another Stargazer spat off of the Mountain, which is really, really nice here. Don't think really any. I mean, it's obviously not Sunfire Board. Vampiric Vitality sounds pretty bad. Ooh, Cyber Implants looks pretty juicy because we have all these extra items that we're printing. And once again, you know, the Orns are printing items for themselves, so this looks really nice. We find, weirdly enough, a Morgana that we can fit onto this board for now here, and we are going to continue to roll down here just to try to find some of these relevant units. And he does have to actually play the Nasus on this board here. So yeah, this is going to be our setup here. Normally you need Nunu on this board, right? But we haven't hit Nunu yet. The fortunate thing is because we are the mountain, we can just fit 4 Stargazer in without even playing Nunu. But because we don't have the Nunu, this means that we can fit some extra stuff. Ooh, we do take a pretty chunky loss here on this board. I will say this board is pretty strong prior to hitting the board, but it can definitely lose fights if you fight really strong boards like that. And so, ooh, this is a scary spot, but Soju is going to roll quite deep here to save some HP and is going to move. Yeah, why don't we just Stargazer spat the Ornn? I'm not really sure why we didn't do that in the first place, but okay, now we do end up doing it. This will then print a Radiant item onto the Ornn, which is very nice, and hopefully our double Samiras can do some work here, not get too knocked up by the Nunu, which, once again, you see, this is the scary thing about this line is how contested Nunu is here. Now, our Ornn is doing an amazing job, and this is just Ornn 2. I think this really feels like part of why this line is so good is that, you know, Ornn 1, good work. I mean, Ornn 2, good work. Ornn 3 becomes a monster. Now, we do pick up 8 rolls off Ahri, which once again, this is part of the reason why we played this line, is that Ahri is really, really nice for just getting all these extra resources for us so that we can 3-star our units, which we need to go now. I mean, we have double dupes here. That is the thing. We're playing on a razor-thin edge here. We do find Nunu, who's a great in on this board. You can continue rolling down, find another Samira. We were 1 off. We do it the Samira 3. Remember to bench that one so that we don't accidentally do that. And we do have the Ornn 3 as well with the dupes here. Okay, so we manage to get there. We are also going to leave these kind of items around here and then just go triple real tank item onto the Ornn and then just use the extra stats from stuff like the Stargazer emblem on the secondary Ornn, which is actually kind of funny, but it makes sense, right? At this point in the game, a Stargazer emblem is really not doing much onto Ornn here. We don't even have those higher Stargazer effects, so it'll be good enough on this extra Ornn here, and even gives them the Cyber Implants value, which is not bad. Okay, so a little sketch, but we've reached the board here. The slightly crazy thing that we do have to worry about in this spot here is that we do not have an IE onto the Samira yet. We'd really like to pick that up on minions, though I don't know if we're going to be able to guarantee get there. If we can get to IE, or even DB, really, just some kind of damage item, the upside is we have Morello made, we have LW made, we have all these tank items made for Ornn, and we have everything 3-starred. And you can see this board just cooks with everything 3-starred. Soju needs to come back here and roll for his item, though. He just picked up some, I don't know, some... Really? Sterax? Wow, I'm quite surprised he actually opts to take this here. But he says, you know what? An item's an item. And I guess he's pretty happy with these items onto Samira. I would really want a good last item on her. But I guess his insight is that, like, it's going to be too hard for us to roll down and find, say, exactly IE, right? So we might as well just grab this Sterax here. We can throw it. I mean, we do have another... Oh, he knew that we were very likely to get lucky item chest out of this, so that's why he also waited to slam the Sterax, because I believe you can get components here, but he just gambled on the fact that we're going to lucky item chest the Samira. There's good odds that we can actually find an IE out of that. Sadly, that does not pay off here, actually, and we don't get it, so now we just have to double Shojin here, but still, even without IE, these Samiras are going to do good damage, and once again, I feel like the MVP of this line is just the Ornn here. This guy sits on the front line with the extra tankiness from Two Tanky, and he is just unbelievably unkillable on this board. Now we're going to level for the Nasus here, who's a really good in on this board. Like we talked about, this gives us 3 Space Groove, which is... It's not that necessary. It just gives you Space Groove at the start of combat, which honestly, the second a unit gets knocked up, Samira starts getting into Space Groove already, but it gives her that attack speed that kind of helps her get that first cast off, start knocking up units, and then start just kind of saying perma in the groove, especially once you get stuff like Nunu and even, you know, Nunu pair onto the board here. But you can see, now that we've hit our board, we are just clearing here. We still have a little bit of an itemization issue. Definitely, I would love to find something like an IE or even a DB on Carousel here, but I mean, hey, maybe we'll just sit on these items and we'll look for more tank items as we get further into the game here. And just at this point, our only goal really is to push extra levels here. That is a big Joseph Gath here from Panny Andrew. I think that was Panny's board. Either way, whoever played it, that looked very, very cool. Just the giant show with this Soraka's Miracle on it. Speaking of giant boards, we do fight a big Nunu here, but I mean, look at the Ornn. Nobody can kill him. This guy, just for whatever reason, 3-star plus the extra stats just becomes completely unkillable. And it allows you to just buy an insane amount of time for Samira to get a lot of casts off, for Nunu to get casts off. We take the adaptive helm off carousel or fake carousel here, which is really, really nice to allow you to, not have to end up in this world where if we are looking for like specific Samira item off Anvil here, just take the adaptive helm. It's good enough onto the Nunu. And you can see both the Samira's double firing on this Cho'Gath. He just gets melted, man, and just absolutely cleared. I mean, there's so much focus fire. Look at that damage chart, by the way. 9k damage from Samira, 6k damage from the secondary Samira. You can just see, I mean, the Samira unit does a lot of work. And the second one, this is why the double trouble is so nice, is that every single time one Samira knocks up, they both fire. This Samira unit is also very annoying if you are playing like a solo tank like this Cho'Gath and you don't have CC immunity, because you can just CC units kind of, forever, especially if they stagger their cast, which they will do sometimes. Because they both have Shojin, they're actually going to end up casting at the same time a lot of this time, though because there's some slight differences in attack speed, there will be some kind of like staggering of the cast. But what you really want is like Samira casts, boom, 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 knock them up. The second Samira cast, boom, 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 knock them up. Both of them are shooting as they're getting knocked up. Nunu's rolling balls, knocking them up. You're finding Blitzcrank knocking them up. And I mean, our next in on level 9 is very likely to be a second Nunu if we can find one. That is the struggle here, is finding that second Nunu here. But definitely will be one if we can play it. Could be an extra Xayah, I guess, if you must. We do see, somebody trying to print out perhaps a 3-star Corki there. Maybe last item. Second to last item probably this game. We'll get one off Carousel. Guess it has to be... it's red buff. Wow, I thought it was just gonna be Bramble Vest for some extra frontline, but his idea is, we don't really need another tank item. It doesn't really make the board any tankier, and honestly, some extra attack speed onto some Xayah and some repetitive heal cut on this board. It's not amazing, but there will be some times where Xayah hits a unit that the other Samira is not hitting, so it's not even bad. And best of all, it's just attack speed onto a solid unit. Gonna level up here, roll down, try to find that extra Nunu. We do find it, and we do find Blitz here, who's gonna come in here. Imagine that we will. Oh my god, we hit the double Nunu shop. We also a double Blitz here, so it's kind of dealer's choice on what we want to play here. He's gonna play Vhagar on this board so that he can get another unit in to actually put the Stargazer spat on, which is kind of crazy, I will say, especially because this is all that we can play here. But he wants to get up to that 7 Stargazer and just get all that extra stats onto his entire board. I mean, 6% durability is not bad. Yeah, and he's showing it here for someone in chat who is probably yapping and saying, well, why don't you just play 2 Blitzcranks and put the spats on them? It's that turning Blitzcrank into a Stargazer does not turn a second Blitzcrank into a second Stargazer. It just sees it as the same unit, the Stargazer Blitzcrank, which then at that point does not actually add any extra synergies to your board. So we have to actually fit something like this Jinin on this board, who's actually, I mean, fantastic here. So kind of a funny scenario where we actually don't end up double Nunuing here or double Blitzcranking, but it makes perfect sense. And I mean, it's looking good. We also take another LW. Oh my God. This has got to be the greatest amount of Shred and Sunder I've ever seen on a board. 2 LWs, a red buff, and a Morello on this board, going for DPay everything here. We do also just win the game because this player says, there's no way I'm winning this. The only way I can win is go for a Bard 3. Hats off to them. They were actually very close to it. Only 2 off Bard, but they're not going to reach it. And Soju is going to win this game while he's eating his food, man. He's making it look easy. But I mean, this comp does make it look easy. It's very, very straightforward to play. Very, very, very strong. As long as you build reasonable items and hit your units on curve, you will win the game. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out like the video. It helps out a lot. I don't know when I started doing this. I haven't even looked at my stats and seen if these have improved, but like the video helps me out a lot. Subscribe to the channel, comment. Honestly, this might actually do bad stuff for like my... I mean, you know what? Because you guys have been here for so long, I'm going to give you out a Chibi Xayah code. Be right back. Haha, I'm just kidding. I scammed you guys. There's no Chibi Xayah code. Okay, now that those guys are gone, here's the actual code. Boom. There it is. Drop that into your client and you will get a Chibi Xayah. Thank you to Riot Games for making me a TFT partner so I can give cool stuff like this out to you guys. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching as always. Bye-bye.